Hi there. Well, it is a gloomy day. I've got to say, I hope you can hear me. It's a bit windy. I might just change my mic round. Hang on. No, it'll have to stay here, but I'm going to hide it right behind my head. So I hope you can hear me all right. And I've come back to this pasture. I haven't been here for a long time. This time yesterday, this would have been underground. Snow, a foot of snow fell about a week and a half ago, and the country, the UK, was so cold, down to -15 in some places, that the snow just didn't melt. It only fell for about a day and a half and didn't melt. And then suddenly, last night, the temperature rose, the rain came in, and it's all gone. The ground is a bit frozen after about, coming up to about a foot, but we're still getting some nice things. And it's lovely to be here, especially with those cows. I don't like cows, but they're so calm and friendly. Anyway, almost my first sound. Didn't sound very deep, but I think conditions at the moment are such that we're going to get deep targets today. It's blowing an absolute gale. I am sorry if you can't hear me. Sounding all right now. Very coppery, because that's what it is. Now, I've found Roman coins up here, but I found very few brooches. And this one's an absolute cracker. It's so fine, and it's got its pin and its spring, and its loop and its catch. I mean, it's completely intact. It's beautiful, but so, I don't know what the word to describe it, just so delicate and little, but in amazing condition. I don't know what it is. Is it a head stud brooch with that loop? I'm not sure. But as I said, I've found 2 or 3 brooches here in all this, and they were miles away that way, but this is just completely fabulous.
Cool. Well, I don't just love a brooch as much as the next man. I think I love a brooch more than the next man. Welcome to headquarters, and we just had to have a look at this. I've been really lucky. I've found loads of Roman brooches over the years, most of them pretty crappy, some of them really quite nice. I don't think this is the most spectacular, but it's certainly one of the neatest, most delicate, beautiful ones I've ever found. It's got its pin, its spring, and its catch all intact. It's actually sprung on these necessarily. It certainly doesn't have a sort of any tension to it, but the fact that it's all still there just beggars belief. Now, it was found in pasture, which I presume would have been very much cultivated during the Middle Ages onwards, but certainly hasn't been modern ploughed, perhaps during the war. In fact, certainly during the wars, but not heavily cultivated as much as most arable land in this country is. And therefore, okay, it hasn't had the plough turning it over again and again, but still, I mean, the fact that it's even got the little loop on the top, that little sort of ring is still intact, is just, I mean, it's just it's a beautiful object. Now, originally I thought head stud brooch, but it doesn't have a head stud. The head stud would have been a little, literally a stud-like thing just below the wings, probably enamelled, or maybe would have had a stone in it. Doesn't have that, but apart from that, it looks very similar. It's got quite a nice sort of rounded foot, a catch plate. It's also very bowed. Now, I mean, I haven't gone into massive research on it, but I couldn't find anything in this. The Great Hattats, Iron Age and Roman brooches. It's one of about 3 or 4 volumes. Not the easiest reference book, as I've said before, but my God, it's beautiful to go through. And actually, once you get the hang of it, you can fairly quickly flip through and see something which might catch your eye as being similar. These head stud brooches all have little rings on the top of them. And I thought it might have been a T-shaped brooch. And some of the T-shaped brooches are very similar, but there's no T on this, and it certainly isn't missing the T. This is how it should look. Little indentations along the spine there would have definitely had some sort of enamelling in them. I even put it on the detectinghub.co.uk, and not much interest in it. Maybe people don't like a brooch as much as me. Someone did actually say on it, I won't mention any names, but they're just a really nice bunch, and if you fancy just a chat about detecting or needing your stuff ID'd, then that's the place to go. I'll leave a link in the description. But someone said Wirral type. I can't pronounce my R's very well. That's W-I-R-R-A-L, which is the area sort of on the estuary next to Liverpool. And for those who don't live in this country, northeast, the northeast of England. And it does look quite wirrally. I'm not sure the spring casing, that very round spring casing, is Wirral type, but that's the closest that we could sort of get. And if it is Wirral type, well, I found it in the southeast of England, and it's a very rare find outside the Wirral and the South Scotland, I think. It's just a beautiful little object. I mean, absolutely. This is why I do this hobby. It's more to find things like this, the history behind something like that and who wore it. And it's just, I mean, I absolutely love it. They really are one of my favourite things to find. I never get bored of it. And as I said, maybe not the most gobsmackingly beautiful or eye-catching, but just such a beautiful little object all the same. And I think would have been probably sort of semi-high status. Anyway, I've gone on far too long. Thank you very much for listening to all that, and let's go back to the fields.
What a start. I really wasn't expecting this. I'm not taking it too seriously today. It's going to rain a bit. There's rain in the air. If it does start to rain, I'm not going to do too many live digs. But just lovely to be out, because I haven't been out for a while. And the raincoat, hopefully, will not put me off if the rain does come in. What a start. This is quite ballsy. But I think it might have some depth to it. Seems it's a little bit irony as well, but it's not unlike what the brooch sounded like, even though the brooch was much finer. I get asked quite a lot, what settings do you use? Do you ever change your settings on pasture? Do you ever change your settings between pasture and arable? And the short answer is, and here are my settings now, by the way, the short answer is I don't. And I probably should, and a lot of you give me extremely good advice of what I should be doing. But the thing is that for so long now, I've used this machine with just my ears, no readout, no anything, and I just understand what it gives me under any conditions now. Now I know sometimes if I put the audio response up, deeper targets will sound higher, but that might also upset what I'm so used to hearing. I might mistake that slightly louder sound for something else. Now, I know tweaking around, I'll probably get more depth on this, but the thing is that I just understand the settings I've used for 7 years now almost well enough, and I just don't really dare change them. And it's the old thing, if it isn't broken, don't break it. And what you're gaining in one respect, you're going to lose on the other end when you're changing the settings too much. Well, it is, I think, deep and ballsy. I don't think this is going to be very, very good. But it's definitely got the right depth. Yeah, it sounded like it was going to be that. It's an old iron buckle. You know, it's definitely got a lot of edge. This isn't army or, you know, and it's got something there. They are going to fool you, these funny sort of misshapen bits of iron. I found another bit actually as well just now. I'm digging them today. I'm not sure that might have been part of a chain or something to hold a cauldron or a pot or something. Not sure. Two very early bits of misshapen roundish iron. They're going to fool you. My speaker system's working really well again. I'm really pleased. I bought a load of more wires and stuff and splitters so I can hear it in my ears and the speaker. That's nice. That's not too deep, but enough in these conditions. I think conditions couldn't be better. Really exciting at the moment. Yeah, nice. And it's still in there. My God, it's so windy still. I think we had in one video, didn't we? About 4 minutes when it was still. Apart from that, it's just gale force the whole time in this country. It drives me mad. Just in the side here. Got a really good feeling about today, which always means that you're going to find a load of rubbish. But I think after that brooch, don't really care. One more. That should do it. Well, that's really lovely. Not the earliest thing in the world, but in such lovely condition. So it's a lovely little spectacle buckle. I thought it might, having said how wonderfully my speaker's working, we're now off it. That's really lovely. I think they're sort of Elizabethan, aren't they? They're sort of Tudor, these. I don't think they're much earlier. But gosh, what a beautiful one. Ooh, hooray! Well, there's quite a lot of rain in the air, so I'm not doing live digs. I'm just going to whiz my camera out as and when we find something. And I've just found another buckle. Another tiny little spectacle-y type buckle. Now it's much of the same period, I think, and maybe very slightly later perhaps, or even maybe slightly earlier. It's lovely. What a beautiful design. Missing its pin, but you can't have everything. And gosh, that was a lovely signal as well. I don't do this field that carefully ever, and I'm so pleased I don't, because it means I can come back to it. The idea of dredging a field and completely clearing it out of everything by going at a snail's pace and covering about 2 meters a session, it's not my idea of fun, and it means I can come back and find stuff like that. Well, unless the wind dies down, I think I've got to stop recording. It's raining, the camera's not staying upright. It's a real hoolie. It's really sad because there's some lovely things coming up, including this. Things don't get much clearer than that. I mean, it's always going to be something nice, I think. And it's only a George III halfpenny, but my God, it's in good condition. It was up here I found that beautiful George I Irish halfpenny, and this one, there's just the edge on it is so crisp still. I mean, it must have been lost fairly soon off. Well, it's not amazing, but it'll clean up beautifully. And I don't often find them with such a clear edge and such a crisp edge. I can really feel it. It's annoying because I'm finding some lovely things today, but it's not much fun being out. I'm being blown around. It looks like it's going to absolutely it down at any minute, but we'll just see. But I can't do any more live digs, I'm afraid. Well, there's not quite as much rain in the air now, so I can relax a bit, but it's still very windy. It's not very cold, but it's windy and a bit wet. And this is pretty faint, but I've just found a Roman coin, very close, sounding very similar. Small and wispy. So I'm rather hopeful about this. My cameras don't blow away. But it's just there. My God. I'm a fair weather detectorist. I don't like it when it's like this very much. Well, it's sounding very coppery now. I'm hoping this is another Roman coin. No! No, 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 no. Oh my... It is... Wow, 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 wow. I think this might be Saxon. My God. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. When you least expect it, the most amazing thing pops up. And I think that might be Saxon, or very early, or maybe Norman. Oh my God. Right, I can see a face on one side. I've no idea what it is. I'm going to be really careful with this. I don't want to rub it too much. Wow, 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 wow. A little silver Saxon penny or Viking penny. I think it's got to be one of the two, possibly Norman. Oh, well, worth staying out for. I was going to go home. This has to go back to headquarters.
Hi there, and welcome back. Well, my God, I can probably count on one hand how many times I've literally been blown away with what I've found metal detecting, mainly because it always happens when you least expect it. Therefore, the surprise is absolutely sort of to the maximum. And I've found very few Saxon coins. In fact, this is only the second whole Saxon, later Saxon coin that I've ever found. And I mean, I was absolutely, stopped for words. Some of you may have noticed I've moved my glass from there to here. The weight of this thing and the way that it braces, there was so much pressure on that part of the desk. So I've had to move it. The brace will stay. And I can take the arm off and on. Anyway, I haven't quite got to grips with it as easily, but once it's down, and I haven't plugged it in yet either. But anyway, it's in absolutely beautiful condition, and it's Edward the Confessor. Now, it was fairly easy to identify, actually, non-swanks. That cross and the little pellets in it, in each quarter, are a bit of a giveaway. But I didn't know anything more than the fact that it was Edward the Confessor. So got my spink out, and here we are, Edward the Confessor. Basically, the last Anglo-Saxon king. I mean, you can probably count Harold. Well, you can count Harold as being an Anglo-Saxon king. But he wasn't really around for very long. 1 year before the Normans came over and bashed him up. But Edward the Confessor was around for a very long time, 1042 to 1066. And it is a trefoil quadrilateral type. It says here from 1046 to 1048, I'm not so sure. It had a bit of a bend in it, not done on purpose, certainly done by the plough, I would have thought, or whatever else would have been bashing it up over the years. I was a little bit reluctant to do anything about it to start off with, but curiosity got the better of me, and I have straightened it out fairly successfully, I like to think. And it's an absolute beauty. Now, I got as far as trefoil quadrilateral type. That was the easy bit. Knowing the Monier and the mint was less easy, but actually there was a lot to go on because the legend is so clear, and I put it on the detectinghub.co.uk, as always, and the resident warlock and his friends jumped on it, and they got it fairly quickly, and I'm pleased to say it is Leofwine. Leofwine is the Monier, and the warlock got it even more closely than that. It says Leof Pine on Giel, Giel in the legend, and that means from Ilchester. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently that makes it quite a scarce coin, I think. I haven't sort of done much more research on it, but that doesn't really matter either way, quite frankly. It's a beautiful coin dating to the early 11th century. I mean, that is an old piece of silver, and my God, did they know how to make coins in those days, because it's an absolute stonker. It's beautiful and one of the best things I've ever found. I get so excited about Anglo Saxon stuff because I hardly find it at all, and just feel really lucky. I mean, just really, really lucky. Coming up. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that. Good news for those who like seeing Tasci. There's a field I know really quite well, but I've got a feeling it might be slightly more interesting than I've always thought it was, because I found a couple of quite nice bits on it, and I looked it up on the LiDAR, which I've only been doing fairly recently, and there's some quite nice marks on it as well. And it is a field where he can run around till his heart's content. Go on, Tascals. So we'll be seeing a little bit of him as well fairly soon. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that, and let's go back to the fields.
Gosh, I have been over this pasture a few times, but it is quite big, and I don't mind missing things because it means I can come back and find stuff. And I know that might sound a bit like my sort of tagline today. It really isn't. It just makes me so happy to, when I'm least expecting stuff, to find things like that. I mean, just blown away, literally and mentally. Say when I come up here, I very rarely come here and not find one of these. I'm absolutely amazed with the things I'm finding today, and I can only put it down to ground conditions. I'm digging up a lot of ring pulls and stuff, which I always do here if I want to, and I've been ignoring things which I know are pound coins because they're too close to the surface. I'm not digging doubles, not digging double beeps, or trying not to. But if you don't find one of these up here, you're not having a good day. It's a jetton. It's a really, really lovely jetton. It's got a hole in it. Now that doesn't necessarily make it an English one, even though the English ones do tend to have holes in the middle of it. It'd be lovely if it were an English one, but I don't think it is. I don't know why it's got a hole in it. It looks like a very classic rose and orb type to me. Got the roses on one side. It's a really lovely one, but I don't know why it's got a hole in it. If anyone would like to illuminate me on that, that would be very helpful. I can't really concentrate. I never can once I've found something really, really mega, like that coin I've just literally found 5 minutes ago. I will go on. Some people sometimes say, when you say you're just going to stop, why? Well, it's because I can't literally get my head around what I've got in my pocket. But we will go on still. And I completely forgot to show you the Roman coin I found. I've got something tells me it might be silver. It might be a silica, or siliqua, however you pronounce it. I'm not sure. It's not in very good condition, whatever. But I was excited about this till I found the other thing. It's about to start raining again, so this is going to be my last live dig. Bit squeaky, very faint. But I think conditions today are allowing me to get to this stage. It does sound a little bit irony as well, but let's see anyway. And then I can go home to research that coin, which you'll already know about. But it's still in there, which is always a good sign. If it's in that section, it's usually too shallow. Yeah, I think this might be iron. It might be misshapen iron. I've said before, I don't dig a lot of iron. Generally, I try not to. It's deep. And it's in there. Oh, sounding nice. well, not that deep, maybe 5-6 inches. Well, I don't know what that is. It's a bit of lead, I think, annoyingly, but it's shaped. Yeah, it's just a tiny bit of lead. Coin-shaped lead. I don't think it's anything grander than that. Well, having said that, I can see something on it, I think. Maybe there is something on that. On both sides, perhaps. Anyway, let's go home. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.